Hello, so today we're going to do something a little bit different than normal. I actually wanted to distinguish the difference between the four court cards for fire energy. So if you're learning tarot or you're new to tarot or you just want some refresher on what these different energies represent and how you can interpret them, then this is the video for you. Okay, so we're going to start with the King of Wands. This is the masculine form of fire energy, and here's the traditional Rider-Waite interpretation of the King of Wands. He's sitting here on his throne, which has salamanders and lion figures on the backing, and he has a little salamander actually near his feet. So this king, he's confident, he's looking out in the distance, he is making plans. So masculine energy a lot of times is forward movement, acting passionately, and following your deepest desires, being able to express yourself assertively and with a lot of strength. This king is grounded. He leads with his heart, shown in this green color right here, especially around his chest. He knows how he can be a loving leader, and his cloak is yellow. This is corresponds with your sacral, or not sacral, solar plexus, sorry. Solar plexus chakra, which is how you lead others and express yourself as a leader and be able to balance things. And then with this green, his heart that he's also operating out of, he is leading people through compassion and being able to ground them with this red, and understand that the material is also just as important as the emotions. Sometimes, especially in this interpretation of the King of Wands, sometimes I feel like the King of Wands can be overly confident, or a little impulsive at times, kind of like a wildfire in a way. It's just, once it gets going, it's kind of hard to stop. This king can be a little bit traditional and aggressive at times, sometimes being intimidating to others. This doesn't necessarily have to be bad, it depends on the situation, but it definitely is more of an intimidating masculine energy. And it can be quick, kind of, especially with this like lightning being shown in here. But it's definitely something, as with all of the fire energies, they're represented with the red and the orange and the yellow, and that has to do with like the lower chakras, which are usually what connects us to the earth, connects us to our understanding of our past and how that shaped our current life situation. And it's a lot of like understanding ourselves and passion. I think in this interpretation of the king, I wanted to show a couple because the King of Wands can be interpreted in a couple different ways when it comes out in a reading. And in this one, it's a little bit more grounded. This king, he is looking towards the future, and he has like his body placed like strong and sure of himself. And there's definitely a certain amount of vibrancy to this king, especially in the way that he can guide others in a grounded way, but also in a fair way, and one that is in the best interest for growth and bringing prosperity and abundance through being able to express yourself in a really true and full way. So here's the king. Okay, so now we're diving into the Queen of Wands. So immediately, the Queen of Wands definitely has a lot of cat-like energy, and that's reflected here with the repetition of the lion figures behind her head, but then also at the side of her, and then this little cat right here at the bottom. The Queen of Wands is definitely... Oh, and she even has a little lion face right at her chest. The Queen of Wands is definitely usually seen as someone who's very creative. This is also shown in this interpretation of her. But also someone who their creative pursuits are in good taste because they are following her passion, and it's like the fire energy that comes with the Queen of Wands is like a lot of forward movement, but it's also gentle, and it's pushing someone in the direction that is beneficial for them, but it's not hurting others. It's not undermining others. It's purely from a place of self-improvement and self-discovery. And this is also shown, she has a white cloak over her yellow gown. So her yellow gown is gold, and which can represent like royalty and luxury in that way, but also in the same way as the king, this assured self-expression, but the white surrounding it is also purity and connection to the divine, and being able to act in a way that is serving a higher power rather than just a selfish reason. This queen also holds a sunflower, which is abundant, and if you think about how a sunflower is, the sunflower is always turned towards the sun, which is a source of energy and a source of life, and but it also is deeply grounded and rooted in the earth. So it's like this mixture of being grounded and also and like earthy, but also looking up towards a greater energy, an energy that is connecting a lot of people and the earth to the heavens. In this right here, the Mother of Swords, she's around her eggs, or swords, wands. She's around her eggs, and she's protecting them. And also, there's reflected in the background, especially around her body, there's red, and that's again grounding and nurturing in a way that has a lot of energy behind it, because it's feeding the needs, and whether that be physical needs or emotional needs, both of them together. I think also Queen of Wands is someone who's kind of fearless going after things, self-assured in a way, and also having a clear understanding of the needs of others and the needs of the self brought together, and incorporated the actions and the choices and the decisions that this queen makes, because in this Queen of Wands energy also reflects that you are in a position where you make decisions that affect others, but it's like this person is aware and in touch with the purpose that each individual that she's in contact with is undergoing. So this is our queen. We're going to move on to the Knight of Wands next. Okay, so the Knight of Wands, this is a more social energy, and this also is genderless. So compared to the queen and the king, where it's more closely associated with the masculine versus the feminine energy, this is more of a balanced and even type of harmony between the two. So even though in this card it's kind of represented as a little bit more masculine, it does tend towards a little more masculine because it has that action side of it that's also here, where it requires this kind of initiative and swift movement, and you can see that in the horse that's also definitely in movement. But this Knight of Wands, he acts passionately and quickly, so a lot of times this can represent communication, conversation, banter in a way where you're like interacting back and forth. Knight of Wands also is kind of taking the initiative on a project sometimes, starting things up, going on some type of endeavor. And this is definitely something that's tied to like your soul, your spirit, the thing that gets you really fired up, excited. Sometimes though, this can be a little bit of an impulsive type energy where, and that's also shown like this cheetah. It's kind of sneaky sometimes, or a little misrepresentational of a true well thought out and well intended type of plan. So especially, I know this card specifically mentions sometimes things being a little too good to be true in a way. So with the Knight of Wands, sometimes you have to take it with a little grain of salt, and it's very situational. But even here, this is definitely usually signifying some kind of communication, things moving forward, definitely like quick, swift forward movement, and like inspiration in a way too. This is definitely heavy action, like take action energy. So next we're going to move on to Page of Wands, and that will conclude this explanation. Okay, so for the Page of Wands, this is also much like the Knight, where it can be gender ambiguous, and it's not necessarily tied to either side, but it's a little more heavily weighted in feminine energy, which is a little bit more passive and a little bit more internal type of growth and movement. So with the page, this is less about swift action or doing things. It's more about formulating the ideas behind it, and that's shown here with the ideas. It's really contemplating. A lot of times this card can come up around spiritual transformations or times where you're really being pressured in a certain area to develop it or grow that area of your life. And when you're just starting out, kind of, it's like the period where you're like planning, kind of getting like your ducks in a row in a way. Daughter of Wands right here, this is just a different type of representation, but this personality type is a little bit more reserved or to themselves, because you're in this period where you're kind of developing an idea rather than being passionate and leading with it. So this can also signify good news coming in, or someone communicating something that you've been kind of waiting for that will spark some kind of growth or future growth. So yeah, and this is definitely as all the other fire energies, this has to do with self-expression, attracting what you want. Yeah, with this orange, this is heavily orange. It's more intensely orange than, like, for example, if we bring in this Queen of Wands, she's more yellow, which is self-expression. This is more attracting what you want, bringing in the things you desire, communicating, and also just a little bit more of waiting type of energy. But it's also, with this infinity symbol shown here, it's like the inevitability of moving into new cycles, how your creative energy is affected with the forward movement of these things, and also that you're infinitely, like, being provided for and that kind of a thing. So thank you for watching all of the fire energies that I had to explain today. I think it's really important to understand the differences come out between feminine and masculine energy in the different suits, and also the two gender ambiguous type energies, because they're integrating them both. And when these come up, they can represent people, but they can also just represent situations and how they're moving, or if they're not moving in a certain way. So thank you for watching this very fiery video today. I'll see you in the next one.